We have left corporate America for good. My name is Carmen.
And I'm Darius. And it's been 5 years since we last punched the clock for our W-2 salary. And we haven't regretted it at all. There's been some times where it has been difficult, but I would rather have difficult times within a business that we have control over than a business that somebody else owns.
Now, this topic is a little bit of a shift from the things that we typically talk about, which is all financial driven. And we wanted to have a shift really quickly with this video is because the reason why we go out and get money has to do a lot for the lifestyle that we want to live. And so sometimes it's important for us to just take a step back, put the money aside and understand what is the lifestyle that we want for ourselves and how can we reverse engineer some things to make sure that we can figure out where our income comes into play.
Right.
So the reason why we want to talk about like our reasoning behind leaving corporate America and why it was important to us is because we feel like it resonates with a lot of people because they ask us, how did you leave? Why did you leave? When did you leave? Were you scared? Yes, all of those things. So we have some bullet points that we're going to talk about today. And the first thing that I think we should talk about as far as the concept for the video is why we work in the first place. So when a little bit of backstory as far as Darius and myself, Darius has a degree in industrial engineering. I have a degree in communications and also a master's degree. And so we went through university and went through the system so that we could have the education to essentially qualify, if you will, to have a better paying job. And so once we got to corporate America and started to understand the systems and how things work, it just became the norm for us, right? You fight traffic, you got to be at work at a certain time, you have so much time for lunch, and then you work the rest of the day and you go home. And you know that they give you different perks and benefits that really entice you to work with different companies. And we were in that cycle for probably maybe for me closer to 10 years and you maybe 5 or 6. Yeah, something like that. So I think the thing to understand is throughout this cycle, we started to recognize, especially after we got married, that we really weren't happy. We liked the status that we had because of our job titles and the companies that we were working for. But at the same time, that status only fulfills you so much and only fills up your cup so much.
Right. And I would say the biggest thing for me is my dad was actually retiring when I was starting to work. And seeing how he felt about retiring and after spending all those years working for that one company, that was kind of like me looking in the crystal ball of what I can expect from all my years of hard work and what I may have potentially as a result of that. And the conversations that I've had with my dad, I started to make a checklist of things that I liked and things that I didn't like. And the things that I didn't like was more than the things that I liked.
Yeah, absolutely. So going back to kind of that status, the other thing we were talking about with money, we go to work. And the reason why we work is because of money. And sometimes that can establish unhealthy habits with what we think about money, how we relate to money, and our obsession with money, right? We become obsessed with money and earning more and more and more, as opposed to using money as a tool to get us the opportunities and things that we need in life. So we talked about we work for money, we work for status. Sometimes we work because we want to feel like we're contributing to something. I don't know if you all feel that, but you work for a company or you serve a company because you want to feel like you have some sort of contribution. You have something to add. You can make changes in the world.
And one thing I like is as far as when I was working in corporate America, the companies that I work for, I like saying that I'm an engineer at a Fortune 500 company. It made me feel good to say that. But what I really started to reflect on is how much money I was earning and how much money this business was earning in comparison to how much time I'm spending there. So I felt like I know I wasn't earning my value because I saw the numbers. And as an engineer, it was my responsibility to manage the head count for everybody, including myself.
Totally.
So when you see the numbers, it kind of makes you think that, of course I'm an investment, but for every investment that you have, you want that investment to make more money than it costs you in order for it to make sense for you. And with me being an investment for that company, I realized that we can be an investment for ourselves, and we can do the exact same thing that we're seeing this company do to us. We can do it for ourselves.
Yeah. And I think you've touched on a little bit as far as purpose too, like what your purpose was. So we wake up and we all have a specific purpose these days, or we're born with a specific purpose. And so sometimes we feel like if we get this education and start to work for, a big company or firm or whatever it is, and then that will also fulfill our cup when it comes to purpose. So that there's so many different things that we were tied to, as you can see, why we were working. And again, this is our journey. Your journey might be different. But we're sharing this again because we're just shedding light on, if you feel the same way that we felt back in the day, then maybe this is an opportunity for you to start doing some research and figuring out, how can you be happy? How can you change pieces within your lifestyle where you can take ownership of the things that you're doing, as opposed to just being a part of the norm or the status quo, because you don't have to. And I think if that there's anyone out there who is doubting or is trying to figure out, what should I do? I'm lost in the sauce. Well, how do I figure this all out? It's just taking the time, watching YouTube videos, reading books, exposing yourself to other people who have different lifestyles than you do, for you to recognize, like, wow, this is possible. I can do this.
Right. And I think it's important for you to make a physical checklist of the things you like and the things that you may think could improve. Because physically seeing that makes a huge difference as far as how you make your decision. Because we don't want you to go out there and make a decision, I quit my job and I'm going to take unemployment because I hate this place. You need to actually put some thought into it and have a plan in order for your transition into or out of a particular situation.
Yeah. So what would you say are some of the things that were a part of your checklist that you created?
Well, the biggest thing on my checklist was the convenience of having a check that comes in every 2 weeks, regardless of how much time I put into it or whether I go on vacation. There's a check that comes in every 2 weeks. Another thing was benefits, health benefits specifically, because health in the United States is very expensive.
Yeah.
If you were to do it out of pocket. Those were the only two things that I really, really enjoyed.
Okay. And then when you compared and contrast, if I were to leave, what are the reasons why I want to leave? What are the things that I'm craving that I'm not able to do because I have a 9-to-5?
One thing that I wanted to do is to take action on my own ideas. There's a lot of things that I saw that could be improved that I had to get permission in order to do so. So there was more that I wanted to give, but I felt like I was held back on some of the things that I could do.
That's a good point.
Another thing is basically just the fact that I saw the numbers. It bothered me, the fact that I was counting everybody else as a fifth of their actual value to the company. So that means that I was also counting myself as a fifth of the value of the company. And that didn't feel good. It didn't feel good. I would rather have just did it based on the numbers, but I think I had an emotional attachment to the jobs that I was affecting, and some of the decisions that were made as a result of my findings didn't go. We didn't cut the people that needed to be cut. We cut the people that were just on the bottom line. So we cut people that had the higher salaries and the people that had more time invested than we. Instead of cutting the people who were last in, I'm sorry.
Yeah. And I would say I know the things that we discussed also, as far as just what our jobs are doing and the things that we craved, is I know that it bugged you all the time that whenever we went on vacation, we had to ask if we could be on vacation.
Yeah, that should have been the first thing I said. I hate having to ask permission to do something.
Yeah. And so I think and the other thing too is the reason why it bugged us so much is because we have friends and we have family that love to travel, and they were always inviting us to places, and we couldn't go because we didn't have the time. And so as you start to bump up against that roadblock, you start going, how do I make the time? Why can't I just go? Why do I not have the ability to just live my life freely how I want to? So I know that was definitely on the top of my list. Being able to exercise my own thoughts and my own ideas was also on that list. And then also just being able to serve from a different perspective of the things that I truly believe in. Because like you said, with your perspective of understanding the head count, when with the two different industries that I was in, first and foremost, the food and beverage industry, I started to really understand how marketing affects what consumers eat and drink. And a lot of the things that I saw, I wasn't happy with. And then when I switched industries into the construction industry, I just started to see how homes are built, how condos are built, how assisted living facilities are built. And again, it just changed my perspective on shelter. Completely changed my perspective on shelter. And so again, it just started making me think, wow, I know I can contribute more to the world. I know I can do more to the world. So what are the things that I need to start doing right now to understand how to impact the world differently? So again, you can see Darius and I, our education and our experience has nothing to do with the financial industry. And it's kind of like a blessing that this all came about, because at the end of the day, we recognize that money affects everything. Money affected our lifestyle. We were earning really great salaries, but it affected our lifestyle because we couldn't live the lives that we wanted to live because we were constricted. And also because our income was confined to whatever our employer told us that we could make. And we knew that our value was more and that we could earn more money, but we just didn't know how to go about it.
Right. And another thing for me was the fact that when you start a new job or you work in a job, you're basically inserted into an environment that you have no control over. Yeah. The people around you. And what I found is a lot of the people, they didn't enjoy their jobs even more than me.
That's a good point.
And the topic of conversation is, oh, I hate this place, or I hate doing this. It was never anything positive.
Yeah.
There was no people that were positive that I could really spend more time with as I do my job. Like, I couldn't sit next to somebody that say, oh, I really enjoy what I'm doing. This is so awesome. I'm glad to be here today. There was none of that. Yeah. And what that does is the morale of the people around you affect your morale. And I found myself feeling the same way about work that they did.
Yeah.
So when we created our own business, we were able to start controlling the people that we also had around us, because that affected how we felt in our mindset about the work that we're doing and in our, as far as for the people in our environment.
Absolutely. So now let's talk about the flip side of this. We talked about how we felt. Obviously, we felt some kind of way about the environment that we were in, and what was the change that made us decide to leave our jobs. So I would say the change was for us as we started surrounding ourselves with people who weren't working in corporate America, and they showed us that they can still earn a living and they can go to the park in the middle of the day with their dog and there's no problem. And we started to crave that and go, why can't I go to the park in the middle of the day? And then that really kind of just started planting seeds for us and recognizing, like, okay, how much do we need in order to leave? How can we then make that money up somewhere else? What are the things that we need? How do we cover health insurance? How do we cover vacation? Because we still want to be able to travel, right? We don't want to just leave our jobs and then not be able to do the things that we want to do. So we literally just kind of started mapping out all of these things as a monetary standpoint and understanding how much it cost us to live and what we needed to do in order to make it happen.
Right. And the very first thing that we did prior to us leaving is we only lived off of one income. So that what that did is it allowed us to get used to only living off of one income. So when one of us decided to leave our jobs, we're still used to living off of just one single stream of income. And as the other person started to get their feet wet into this whole entrepreneurship journey, then the other person is able to step into a system that's already working and we can grow together.
Yeah. And so basically, literally what happened is Darius left his job first. And then I stayed in corporate America as we worked through this living off of one income. And as Darius built our real estate business, it allowed me to then transition from corporate America into helping build the real estate business full time. So that's how we kind of bridge the gap. A lot of times couples, they both pull the plug and say, we're out. That wasn't our journey. One went first and then the other followed, because we needed to make sure that we covered the basis financially, and made sure that we were still somewhat comfortable while we were navigating this new world that we were in. Because although Darius was very much, working our business full time, when I left work, we were going to networking events. We were building the business. So it was very much a team effort, but he was managing it through the day. And in the evenings, I was helping bring up the back end of whatever was left.
Right. And I just had a moment where I went back to when we first started our real estate business. We were living in Houston at the time, and Carmen got an opportunity to move to Arizona. So we moved to Arizona, and I left my job and I started a real estate investing company in Arizona. Yeah. And the very first thing I did is I went to a meetup of other like-minded people that were actually doing real estate investing. And just the idea, just the thought, our whole business or our whole entrepreneurship journey started from the people that we had around us. Really goes to show you how important the people around you are in your work environment, your community. We were inspired to create an entire business that we were able to live off of just by changing our environment. Mm-hmm.
And I think the other thing too are the sacrifices that we also took on because we knew that we wanted to live a certain lifestyle. So we were like, okay, we're going to sacrifice today for a better tomorrow. So like we said, we moved states. We had one car. Darius would drive me to work. He'd have the car throughout the day and he'd pick me up and then we'd go back to work. Yep. I thought he was crazy when he was like, we're selling this car. We only need one car. It just the different things that you deal with. We significantly downsized. We sold a lot of things that we own because we said we're going to start new. We're going to start fresh. And in hindsight, that's actually really helped create our minimal lifestyle because we recognize like we don't really need a lot of these things. Right. And even still to this day, we have one car because we work from home. We're always together. We're like, what do we need all these other expenses for?
It's a good thing we love each other.
That's a good point. But going back through the what we did as far as the sacrifices, because we also want to make sure that if you all are thinking about leaving your job or you're thinking about a transition, there are going to be some sacrifices, but it's all in the lessons that we're learning and what we can grow from in understanding the things that we are taking on and what we're learning. Mm-hmm. So it really just became a journey about learning. It became a journey about growing and how we could continue to control more of our lifestyle, knowing that we were making this transition. So every which way we went, we were trying to figure out what gave us the most control as far as how we lived our lives, what we did on the day-to-day, and how we could ultimately spend more time together, because we figured if we got married, we should be spending more time together than apart. Right. And not more time with our coworkers, for example.
Now we've become coworkers.
How about that?
Now, we're not going to sit here and tell you that it was an easy transition. Past 5 years, there's a lot of things that happened with us. We even had a kid. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't the easiest thing for us to do, but it was well worth it, because what we could have been doing is exactly the same thing we were doing 5 years ago, but we're not. And because of that, our lives are different as a result of it. And our daughter's life is different because of it.
I'm so glad you said that, because I think this has been the hardest work we've ever done. The past 5 years, but it's also been the most rewarding, the most challenging, but we've grown the most as people. Like us now versus 5 or even 10 years ago, we're completely different people. 100%. And the people around us is a completely different environment and circle of friends. So I think that all goes to show is we had a ton of fear going into this, because all fear is you not understanding the unknown. Like, don't let fear be a reason why you don't get started, because fear is just a false belief that you put in your head to not take action. And so if you can really look at fear as just, I don't understand this. Let me learn how to understand this so that I can knock that fear to the side and it won't keep me from taking action. So when we go about looking at the risk, looking at the benefits, all of that, for us, the benefits always outweighed any risks that we wrote down on our list to determine whether or not we should make this move. Now, let's be clear. Everyone in our immediate circle thought we were nuts and thought we were making a mistake. So you're going to get a lot of that as well. I can't think of many people that told us, yes, you should absolutely do this. And when I say that, I mean the original OG circle of friends and family that we were with, the people who were in corporate America with us in the same grind. It was that circle of friends that were like, are you sure? But the benefits are so great. You know, the 401k match is amazing. Yeah. Are you sure you want to do this?
What you'll find is your real friends, because then what we noticed is people started to distance themselves from us for, I think they thought we were going to ask them for money or something.
Yeah. If this doesn't work out, they'll probably be asking for money.
Right. But what happened is we created a new set of friends that were really good for what we were trying to accomplish in our lives. Mm-hmm. And we attracted a new set of friends.
And even like our parents too, right? You know, our parents are drinking the juice of what we got going on now. But before they were like,
you're an engineer and you're going to leave your job and start a new one, start a business. That's crazy, Darius.
Yeah. Or, you can always fall back on your degree. You know,
we heard that so much.
Always. So again, we want to make sure that you understand that we did face adversity, and we even faced adversity amongst ourselves. You know, sometimes we thought that we were crazy. Are we making the right decision? Are we doing this? But we again kept going back to the vision that we created, the picture that we were painting in our minds of this life that we could potentially live. And because we were so specific with this life that we wanted to live and create for ourselves, that's the life that we're living these days, and we are loving it because we recognized again what we had to sacrifice in the past to get to where we are today.
Right. And I think the biggest thing is the fact that we had a plan, and then when we executed that plan, there were some things that we didn't know would come up, and we had to change our plan. Mm-hmm. So don't be afraid to change your plan once you know exactly what's going on, because not working and starting a business was something that we never done before. We've never done before. Mm-hmm. So we set a plan based on basically our ignorance of what we were expecting life to be like when we leave our job and start our own business.
Yeah. And I think just to kind of paint the picture, what life looks like for us now is we went from having to set an alarm clock to wake up. Now I don't remember the last time we've used an alarm clock.
But we still get up early as heck.
And also because we have a young daughter. So she's essentially our alarm clock. We take vacations whenever we want to, for however long we want to. Our work is essentially creating meaningful content that is shared with the world, and we get to do that in the comfort of our own home. So all we have to do is turn on the lights and press record and start talking. Of course, have a plan, and we create videos for a living. Mm-hmm. And we've created our business in the sense of where we have wonderful team members around us who help support the vision and help support our clients in many amazing ways, so that we can all come together and achieve our financial goals that we set forth for ourselves. So it's really been amazing to have freedom of time, because again, it doesn't matter when we create videos. We can do it at night, we can do it in the morning, we can do it while our daughter's sleeping, we can do it whenever we want. We can even do videos on vacation if we choose to. Mm-hmm. As far as team meetings, we set up team meetings when it's convenient for us. We set up, anything that we do when it's on our own time, because we also have different parameters in place for when it's not okay to meet, when it's family time, when we just need personal time and personal space. We have all of that set up for ourselves, and it is possible for you to do that. What you have to be willing to do is set parameters on your schedule and hold it, because it's going to be really easy for people to say, oh, you're not going to be able to do this, you're not going to be able to do this, but you have to be ready to commit and unwilling to compromise with your vision, because it's your vision and no one else is going to live your lifestyle how you can. So it's up to you to create the lifestyle that you want for yourself, and know that it is possible, because we're here to share with you today. With the reason why we created this video today is for those of you who are out there who are wondering, can I create my own lifestyle? Can I own my own lifestyle? And you absolutely can. You just have to create a plan, execute on the plan, and to not compromise. And so today, if there's anything that we can share with you to tangibly to take, is to start creating a vision board, meaning, get old school poster board if you want to, or use the desktop on your computer and put images of what you want your life to look like when it comes to health, wealth, and happiness. What are the images that you think about that make you the most happy, that bring you the most joy? And I want you to start looking at them every single day. Put it somewhere where you see it every day, because it's also going to be a constant reminder of, how do I get that? How do I achieve that? How do I see that palm tree every single day? How do why I live this healthy lifestyle every single day. And images are one of the most powerful things that we can do to incorporate into our visualization practice of the life that we want.
Yeah. Oh, man, that was great, because our vision board is one thing that we started initially that we was like, oh, this is crazy. But when we started to see that we were accomplishing some of the things that we saw on our vision board, then it started to be real. That was something that our new circle introduced us to that we thought was a little crazy. But once we started practicing and we had an open mind, then things started to shift for us. And if you think we're crazy, that's fine. That's okay. There's 3,000 billionaires that are also crazy too.
So with this information, again, what are you going to do with your lifestyle? What are you going to do to start taking ownership? Again, we talk about money all the time on the Wealth Nation channel, but this video is specifically for lifestyle. What do you want as far as your lifestyle? What are the things that you're going to start attracting into your life so that you can live the lifestyle that you dream of? Because you should never compromise.
And if you want more information around how to create your own lifestyle, then check out our next video where we give you some pointers.
And don't forget to own your own lifestyle,
Or someone else will.